Ben Torres wiped the sweat from his forehead as he crawled through the narrow maintenance tunnel beneath Frontier Station. The metal walls hummed with the vibrations of massive engines that kept the space station stable in the void between stars. As a systems engineer, Ben spent most of his time in these cramped spaces fixing problems that others never saw. Frontier Station was humanity's proudest achievement in space diplomacy. Built at the edge of human territory, it served as a meeting place where different alien species could come together for peaceful talks. The station was huge, with gleaming corridors and advanced technology that impressed visitors from across the galaxy. Ben had worked here for 3 years, and he loved his job. While diplomats in fancy suits made speeches about peace and cooperation, Ben made sure the lights stayed on and the air kept flowing. He believed that small actions mattered just as much as grand gestures. Today was special. Queen Zara of the Velixian Empire was arriving for the most important peace talks in human history. The Velixians controlled a massive part of the galaxy, and their friendship could open new worlds to humanity. Their enemy status could mean war that humans could never win. Ben had seen pictures of Velixians before. They looked like living crystals, with bodies that sparkled and changed color based on their emotions. Queen Zara was said to be over 300 years old, though Velixians could live for thousands of years. She ruled an empire that spanned hundreds of star systems. The maintenance alert on Ben's tablet beeped urgently. He sighed and checked the message. A routine inspection of the gravity generators in Section C was needed before the Queen's arrival. Nothing too difficult, but it had to be done perfectly. Any mistake during these talks could cause a diplomatic disaster. Ben gathered his tools and headed toward Section C. The corridors were busier than usual, with security guards and diplomats rushing around in preparation. Everyone wore their best uniforms and spoke in hushed, serious voices. Ben felt out of place in his simple work clothes, but he had a job to do. The gravity generator room was located deep in the station's core. It was one of the most important systems on Frontier Station. Without proper gravity control, different alien species could not survive in the same environment. Some aliens needed heavy gravity, others needed light gravity, and some needed no gravity at all. As Ben entered the generator room, he noticed something strange. The main control panel was flashing yellow warning lights. He frowned and ran a quick diagnostic check. The readings showed minor fluctuations in the gravity field. Nothing dangerous yet, but it could become a problem. Ben opened his toolkit and began checking the connections. The Velixian delegation would arrive in just 2 hours, and their species required very specific gravity conditions. If the system failed during the ceremony, it could harm Queen Zara and destroy any chance of peace between humans and Velixians. Meanwhile, in the main docking bay, Captain Rodriguez stood at attention with a full honor guard. The diplomatic team had rehearsed this moment dozens of times. Ambassador Williams checked his speech notes one final time, while the camera crews prepared to broadcast this historic meeting across human space. Through the massive viewport, they could see the Velixian royal ship approaching. It looked nothing like human vessels. The ship was shaped like a giant crystal, reflecting starlight in beautiful patterns. It moved without any visible engines, gliding through space like a living thing. "All stations report ready," announced the communications officer. "Velixian vessel requesting permission to dock." "Permission granted," Captain Rodriguez replied. "Begin final approach sequence." Back in the generator room, Ben discovered a serious problem. One of the primary stabilizer units was showing signs of failure. The part was old and had been scheduled for replacement next month. But the stress of preparing for the Velixian visit had pushed it beyond its limits. Ben's hands moved quickly over the controls, trying to compensate for the failing unit. He rerouted power through backup systems and adjusted the field harmonics. For a moment, the system stabilized, but then the warnings returned, louder and more urgent than before. Time was running out. The Velixian ship had docked, and Ben could hear the ceremonial music beginning to play through the station's speakers. In just minutes, Queen Zara would step aboard Frontier Station for the first time. Ben made a difficult decision. He could try to make a temporary repair that might hold for a few hours, or he could attempt to replace the failing unit entirely. The replacement would take longer and was more risky, but it would provide a permanent solution. He chose the permanent fix. Ben had always believed in doing things right, even when it was harder. He pulled out the heavy replacement unit from the spare parts storage and began the delicate process of installation. In the main reception hall, the ceremony was beginning. Queen Zara emerged from her ship surrounded by her crystal-bodied guards. She was magnificent to behold, standing nearly 8 feet tall with a body that seemed to be carved from living diamond. Her skin shifted between different shades of blue and silver as she moved. Ambassador Williams stepped forward to deliver his carefully prepared greeting. The words were in the ancient Velixian formal language, learned through months of study. Great Queen Zara, Mistress of the Crystal Realms, we welcome you to Frontier Station in the spirit of peace and mutual understanding. Queen Zara's response was musical, like the sound of crystal chimes in a gentle wind. The translation devices converted her words to English. Honored humans, we come seeking harmony between our peoples. May this meeting bring light to both our civilizations. The crowd applauded politely. Everything was going perfectly according to plan. Queen Zara was led to a special platform designed to accommodate her unique physiology. The gravity in that area had been carefully adjusted to match Velixian preferences. But in the generator room, Ben was fighting a losing battle. As he tried to install the new stabilizer unit, the failing component finally gave out completely. The gravity field fluctuated wildly, and emergency alarms began blaring throughout the station. Ben's tablet lit up with critical error messages. The gravity field was becoming unstable in all sections of the station. Within minutes, the carefully controlled environment that kept different alien species safe would collapse. In the reception hall, people stumbled as the gravity shifted unpredictably. Queen Zara's guards immediately surrounded her, their crystal bodies glowing bright red with alarm. The Velixians were particularly sensitive to gravity changes, and the fluctuations were already affecting Queen Zara's breathing. Medical emergency in the main hall. Came the announcement over the station's communication system. All personnel to emergency stations. Ben knew he was the only person who could fix this problem quickly enough. The engineering team was scattered across the station, and it would take too long to coordinate a proper repair effort. He had to act now, even if it meant improvising a solution that wasn't in any manual. He grabbed spare components from 3 different systems and began building a bypass circuit. It wasn't elegant and it wouldn't last forever, but it might hold long enough to save Queen Zara in the peace talks. As Ben worked, his hands moved with desperate precision. He connected power couplers that were never meant to work together and routed control signals through communication cables. It was the kind of creative engineering that only humans seemed capable of, finding solutions where none should exist. The gravity field continued to destabilize. In the reception hall, Queen Zara was struggling to remain conscious. Her crystal body was designed for specific gravity conditions, and the wild fluctuations were disrupting her internal energy patterns. Captain Rodriguez called for immediate evacuation of all alien delegates, but Queen Zara was too weak to move. Her guards were panicking, unsure how to help their queen in this strange human environment. Ben's improvised repair was almost complete, but he needed to manually calibrate the field harmonics. That meant leaving the safety of the control room and entering the generator chamber itself. The area was filled with dangerous energy fields that could kill a human in seconds, but Ben didn't hesitate. He grabbed a portable field generator and ran into the chamber. The energy around him made his skin tingle and his hair stand on end. He could feel the gravity pulling him in different directions as he made his way to the manual control panel. Working quickly, Ben adjusted the field parameters by hand. It was incredibly dangerous work, requiring him to reach into areas where the energy fields were strongest. One wrong move could tear him apart, but he focused only on saving Queen Zara and the peace talks. Slowly, the gravity field began to stabilize. Ben's unconventional solution was working, drawing power from systems throughout the station to compensate for the failed stabilizer. It wasn't pretty, but it was effective. In the reception hall, Queen Zara's condition immediately improved as the gravity returned to normal. Her crystal body began glowing with its natural blue and silver colors again, and her breathing became steady. But something unexpected happened as Ben completed the repair. The energy fields in the generator chamber interacted with his body in a strange way. He felt a sudden connection to something vast and alien, as if his mind was touching another consciousness across space. Queen Zara, hundreds of meters away in the reception hall, suddenly lifted her head and looked directly toward the generator room. Her eyes, which had been dim with illness, now blazed with bright silver light. "Where is the human who fixed the gravity?" she asked, her musical voice carrying clearly through the hall. Ambassador Williams was confused. Your Majesty, our engineering teams worked together to resolve the technical problem. Is there something specific you need? Bring me the one who touched the energy fields directly, Queen Zara insisted. I must see him immediately. Ben felt the strange connection growing stronger. Images flashed through his mind, visions of crystal cities and vast star-spanning machines. He could sense Queen Zara's thoughts, and somehow she could sense his. Security guards found Ben in the generator room, still holding the tools he had used to save the station. They escorted him to the reception hall where hundreds of important people waited. Ben felt very small and out of place among all the diplomats and alien dignitaries. When Queen Zara saw Ben, her entire body flashed with brilliant white light. The other Velixians stepped back in shock, making sounds like breaking glass. Impossible, whispered one of her advisors. The resonance bond has not occurred in over 1,000 years. Queen Zara approached Ben slowly, her crystal form reflecting the lights of the reception hall in dazzling patterns. When she was close enough to touch him, she extended one crystalline hand. You saved my life, human, she said, her voice filled with wonder, but you have done much more than that. You have awakened something that has slept in my people for centuries. Ben reached out and touched her hand. The moment their skin made contact, energy flowed between them like lightning. Ben gasped as his mind was filled with alien thoughts and memories. He could suddenly understand Velixian technology in ways that should have been impossible for a human. Queen Zara's eyes widened as she experienced human creativity and intuition for the first time. The chaotic, unpredictable way that Ben's mind worked was completely foreign to her orderly crystal thoughts. But it was also fascinating and wonderful. What's happening to us? Ben asked, though he somehow already knew the answer. The resonance bond, Queen Zara explained, her voice trembling with emotion. According to the ancient laws of my people, we are now joined. Your mind and mine have found harmony across the void between species. The diplomatic teams on both sides began talking frantically among themselves. This had never happened before in the history of human-alien relations. No one knew what it meant or what should be done about it. Ambassador Williams stepped forward carefully. Your Majesty, with respect, perhaps we should take some time to understand what has occurred here. Queen Zara turned to face the crowd, her hand still connected to Ben's. There's no need for lengthy discussions. The bond is clear and true. This human has become my partner in the ancient way of my people. He must come with me to the Velixian homeworld so that the bond can be properly evaluated. Ben felt panic rising in his chest. He was just an engineer who fixed broken machines. He had never wanted to be part of galactic politics or alien relationships. All he had done was his job, saving the station from a technical failure. But as Queen Zara's thoughts continued to flow into his mind, Ben began to see visions of amazing things. Velixian cities that floated among the stars, machines that could reshape matter at the atomic level, and technologies that could solve all of humanity's greatest problems. He also sensed something else in Queen Zara's memories, something dark and troubling. Her people were dying, not from disease or war, but from a lack of something essential. They had become too perfect, too orderly, and they had lost the ability to grow and change. I'll go with you, Ben said quietly, surprising everyone, including himself. If this bond can help your people, then I have a responsibility to try. Queen Zara's crystal body glowed with gratitude and hope. You understand already? Yes, there is much we must learn from each other. The bond has chosen well. The days that followed were filled with preparation and planning. Ben had to learn basic Velixian customs and language, while Queen Zara worked with human diplomats to arrange the unprecedented journey. Never before had a human traveled to the Velixian homeworld. As Ben packed his few belongings, he began experiencing more of the strange visions. He could see through Queen Zara's memories, witnessing the slow decline of Velixian civilization. They had achieved perfection in almost every area of technology and science, but that perfection had become a prison. The Velixians could maintain and operate their incredible machines, but they could no longer invent new ones. They could solve mathematical problems with perfect accuracy, but they could not create new forms of art or music. They had eliminated chaos and disorder from their society, but they had also eliminated the spark of creativity that drove progress. Ben realized that his improvised repair of the gravity generator had done more than save Queen Zara's life. It had shown her a completely different way of thinking, a human approach that valued creative solutions over perfect ones. On the day of departure, Ben stood in the docking bay next to Queen Zara's crystal ship. The vessel was even more beautiful up close, with walls that seemed to be grown rather than built. Everything about it was elegant and perfect, but Ben could now sense the hidden sadness within its perfection. Captain Rodriguez shook Ben's hand warmly. "You're representing all of humanity out there. Make us proud." Ambassador Williams handed Ben a small device. "This communication unit will allow you to contact Earth whenever you need to. Remember, you're still a citizen of Earth no matter how far you travel." Ben nodded and turned toward the ship. Queen Zara was waiting at the entrance, her crystal form shimmering with anticipation. When he took her hand again, the bond between them pulsed with energy and possibility. As the ship prepared to depart, Ben felt the last traces of his normal life slipping away. He was about to journey to the heart of an alien empire, bound to a queen whose thoughts he could share but whose true nature he was only beginning to understand. But Ben also felt excitement building in his chest. The visions from Queen Zara's mind had shown him wonders beyond imagination, and he sensed that their partnership might be the key to solving problems that neither humans nor Velixians could handle alone. The crystal ship lifted away from Frontier Station with barely a whisper of sound. Through the transparent walls, Ben watched human space shrink behind them as they accelerated toward the distant Velixian homeworld. His destiny had taken a shocking turn indeed, and the greatest adventure of his life was just beginning. The journey to the Velixian homeworld took 12 days through hyperspace. Ben spent most of his time learning to understand the bond he shared with Queen Zara. Their connection grew stronger each day, allowing them to share thoughts and memories in ways that amazed both of them. The Velixian ship was unlike anything Ben had ever experienced. The walls seemed alive, responding to touch and changing color based on the emotions of those inside. There were no visible controls or computers. Yet the ship operated with perfect precision through some kind of mental interface that only Velixians could use. Queen Zara showed Ben how to access the ship's memory banks through their bond. He discovered that Velixian technology was based on crystal matrices that could store vast amounts of information and process it at incredible speeds. Their machines were grown rather than built, shaped by mental energy into forms of amazing beauty and efficiency. But as Ben explored these wonders, he began to notice troubling patterns in the historical records. The Velixian Empire had not created any truly new technology in over 300 years. All their recent achievements were simply improvements on ancient designs that had been discovered thousands of years ago. "Your people used to be very different," Ben observed during one of their mental conversations. "The early records show incredible innovation and creativity. What changed?" Queen Zara's thoughts carried a deep sadness. "We achieved perfection, and perfection became our cage. About 500 years ago, our greatest scientists found ways to eliminate randomness and chaos from our society. They created perfect harmony, perfect order, perfect efficiency." Ben felt her memories flow into his mind. He saw the transformation of Velixian civilization from a dynamic, growing culture into something beautiful but static. The chaotic creativity that had once driven their advancement was seen as a flaw to be corrected. "But creativity needs chaos," Ben said, understanding the problem intuitively. "You can't innovate without making mistakes and trying crazy ideas that might not work." "Yes," Queen Zara agreed. "We eliminated the very thing that made us great. Now we can maintain our empire and operate our ancient machines, but we cannot create anything truly new. We are slowly dying, not from disease or war, but from our own perfection." As they talked, Ben began experiencing strange dreams. He saw visions of other civilizations across the galaxy, all suffering from the same mysterious decline. Advanced species that had once reached for the stars were now content to repeat the same patterns over and over, their creative spark somehow extinguished. On the 10th day of their journey, Ben woke from one of these dreams with a startling realization. "Zara, I think something is feeding on your people's creativity. In my dreams, I keep seeing this dark presence that drains the life from civilizations." Queen Zara's crystal body flashed with alarm. "That is impossible. Our scientists have found no evidence of such a creature." "Maybe they can't detect it because their thinking has become too ordered," Ben suggested. "Human minds work differently. We're chaotic and unpredictable. Perhaps we can sense things that perfect crystal minds cannot." When they finally arrived at the Velixian homeworld, Ben gasped at its beauty. The planet looked like a giant jewel spinning in space with crystal cities that rose kilometers into the sky. Floating platforms carried graceful Velixian citizens between towers that sparkled like diamonds in the sunlight. But Ben's human perspective allowed him to see what the Velixians could not. Despite all its beauty, the planet felt strangely empty and lifeless. The perfect crystal cities showed no signs of growth or change. Everything was maintained in exactly the same state it had been in for centuries. Queen Zara led Ben to the royal palace, a massive crystal structure at the heart of the capital city. The building was a masterpiece of alien architecture, with walls that seemed to bend light itself into beautiful patterns. Every surface was perfectly smooth and flawless. The Velixian Council of Elders was waiting to meet Ben. These ancient beings had lived for thousands of years, and their crystal bodies had grown so large and complex that they no longer moved from their resting places. They communicated only through mental energy, their thoughts flowing like music through the crystal chambers. "Welcome, human partner of our queen," spoke Elder Nexus, the oldest of them all. "We are curious about this unprecedented bond. In all our recorded history, no alien mind has ever achieved resonance with the Velixian consciousness." Ben felt overwhelmed by the power of their combined mental presence. But Queen Zara's support helped him stay focused. "I think the bond happened because my people's minds work differently from yours. We're more chaotic, more unpredictable." "Chaos is inefficient," stated Elder Prism. "We eliminated such randomness from our society long ago. It caused too many errors and wasted resources." "But chaos is also creative," Ben replied. "My people solve problems by trying things that shouldn't work. We make mistakes and learn from them. We take risks that logical thinking would reject." The elders exchanged thoughts at speeds too fast for Ben to follow. He could sense their confusion and slight disapproval. To their perfectly ordered minds, human creativity looked like a form of madness. Queen Zara intervened in the discussion. "Honored elders, Ben's chaotic thinking allowed him to save my life with an impossible engineering solution. Perhaps there is value in this approach that we have not considered." Over the following days, Ben worked with Velixian scientists to study their technology. What he discovered amazed and horrified him. The Velixians had access to machines that could manipulate matter at the quantum level, energy sources that could power entire star systems, and computers that could process information faster than human scientists had ever dreamed possible. But none of it was being used to its full potential. The Velixians maintained their ancient devices perfectly, but they had lost the ability to improve them or create new ones. They were like caretakers of wonders they no longer understood how to build. Ben's human mind, however, began to see connections and possibilities that the Velixians had missed. His chaotic thinking patterns allowed him to combine Velixian technologies in ways that their logical minds would never attempt. Working with Queen Zara, Ben created hybrid devices that merged human creativity with Velixian precision. Their shared consciousness allowed them to bridge the gap between chaos and order, finding new solutions that neither species could achieve alone. But the more Ben explored Velixian technology, the stronger his strange dreams became. He began to see patterns in the data that suggested something was actively draining creative energy from civilizations across the galaxy. The evidence was subtle, hidden in quantum fluctuations and energy signatures that even advanced Velixian sensors had missed. "There's something out there," Ben told Queen Zara during one of their late-night working sessions. "Something that feeds on innovation and creativity. I can feel it in the data, like a shadow that follows wherever intelligent life develops." Queen Zara studied the information Ben had gathered. Through their bond, she could experience his chaotic thinking patterns and see the connections he was making. If such a creature exists, it would explain why so many advanced civilizations eventually stagnate and decline. They decided to search the historical records of other species for similar patterns. What they found was terrifying. Across the galaxy, dozens of advanced civilizations had followed the same path. They would reach incredible heights of technology and culture, then gradually lose their creative spark and settle into unchanging patterns of existence. The creature Ben had sensed was like a cosmic parasite, feeding on the very thing that made intelligent life special. It would find civilizations that were reaching their peak development and slowly drain away their ability to innovate and grow. But why haven't we detected it before? Queen Zara asked. Ben thought about this problem. Maybe it's because perfect minds are easier for it to influence. Chaos and unpredictability might be natural defenses against its power. This theory explained why the bond between Ben and Queen Zara was so significant. His chaotic human consciousness was naturally resistant to the parasite's influence, while her ordered Velixian mind gave them access to the advanced technology needed to fight back. Working together, they began developing a detection system that could track the creature's energy signature. It was delicate work that required combining human intuition with Velixian precision. Either could have accomplished it alone, but their merged consciousness made the impossible become real. After weeks of preparation, their detector finally locked onto the parasite's location. The creature was massive, existing in the space between dimensions where it could influence multiple realities simultaneously. It had been feeding on galactic civilization for millions of years, growing stronger with each species it drained. "We have to stop it," Ben said, though he had no idea how two individuals could fight something so vast and powerful. "Together, we might find a way," Queen Zara replied. "Our bond has already accomplished things that should be impossible." They began working on a weapon that could strike at the parasite across dimensional barriers. The project required them to push both human creativity and Velixian technology beyond all previous limits. Ben contributed wild, impossible ideas that broke every rule of physics, while Queen Zara provided the technical precision needed to make those ideas work. The weapon they created was unlike anything that had ever existed. It was part machine, part living crystal, and part pure mental energy. To operate it, Ben and Queen Zara had to merge their consciousness completely, becoming a single hybrid intelligence that was both human and Velixian. When they finally confronted the parasite, Ben felt its terrible hunger pressing against his mind. The creature was ancient beyond measure, a thing of pure appetite that had consumed the creative potential of countless worlds. It tried to drain away his chaotic thoughts and leave only empty order behind. But Ben's human unpredictability proved to be exactly what Queen Zara needed to resist the parasite's influence. Their combined consciousness was too complex and contradictory for the creature to control. Where it expected order, it found chaos. Where it tried to create patterns, Ben's creativity broke them apart. The battle was fought across multiple dimensions of reality. Ben and Queen Zara's hybrid consciousness struck at the parasite with weapons made of crystallized imagination and structured randomness. The creature fought back with waves of crushing order that tried to reduce all creativity to dust. But the parasite had never faced anything like their partnership before. It could handle pure chaos or pure order, but the combination of both in perfect balance was something it had no defense against. Ben's wild human creativity provided endless unexpected attacks, while Queen Zara's Velixian precision made those attacks devastatingly effective. Finally, the parasite's control began to break. Across the galaxy, civilizations that had been trapped in stagnation for centuries began to stir with new life. Scientists made breakthrough discoveries. Artists created works of unprecedented beauty, and explorers set out for distant stars they had long ignored. The creature let out a psychic scream that echoed across dimensions as it was destroyed. Its death released all the creative energy it had stolen over millions of years, sending waves of inspiration flowing back to every world it had touched. Ben and Queen Zara collapsed from exhaustion, their consciousness slowly separating back into two distinct minds. But the bond between them remained strong, and they both knew that their partnership had changed the galaxy forever. In the months that followed, the effects of the parasite's destruction became clear. Velixian scientists began making new discoveries for the first time in centuries. Artists created works that surpassed even their ancient masterpieces. The stagnant perfection of their society gave way to dynamic growth and change. Other civilizations experienced similar renewals. Species that had been content to maintain the status quo suddenly found themselves driven to explore, innovate, and create. The galaxy entered a new golden age of cooperation and advancement. Ben found himself at the center of these changes. His partnership with Queen Zara had proven that different species could work together in ways that made both stronger. Delegations from dozens of worlds came to study their bond and learn how to create similar partnerships. "We've started something incredible," Queen Zara said as they watched a joint human Velixian research team test their latest invention, a device that could heal damaged planets in a matter of days. Ben nodded, still amazed by how much his life had changed. A few months ago, he had been a simple engineer fixing broken machines. Now he was helping to reshape the future of galactic civilization. Humanity has a gift, Queen Zara continued. Your people's chaotic creativity is exactly what the galaxy needs. You are the spark that can reignite innovation in any species that has grown too comfortable with perfection. Ben smiled as he watched human engineers and Velixian scientists working together, their different approaches combining to create solutions neither could achieve alone. His accidental bond with an alien queen had indeed led to a shocking turn in his destiny, but it had also given him something he had never expected: the chance to help create a better universe for everyone. The partnership between humans and Velixians became the foundation for a new era of galactic cooperation. Other species followed their example, learning to value both order and chaos, perfection and creativity. The galaxy that had once been slowly dying from stagnation was now more alive and vibrant than ever before. And at the heart of it all was the impossible bond between a human engineer and an alien queen, proving that sometimes the most unlikely partnerships could change everything.